Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today we're going to do a short video around the company that you keep. So it came to my attention several times over the last few weeks. I haven't made a video probably in about a week and a half because I've been pretty busy. And I've had some former teammates and former business associates reach out with some current events that were pretty surprising to them, not to me, because I do think the company you keep matters. So George Washington said, it's better to be found alone than found in poor company. So I'll say that again. George Washington, one of the greatest men that ever lived, in my opinion, said it's better to be found alone than to be found in poor company. I think today especially, like in the late 1960s to early 70s, businesses across the country decided instead of making character and I guess goodwill around how people live their lives, instead of making that a primary piece of recruiting, sustaining, and keeping teammates and business associates and things of that nature, what became more prevalent was risk. Okay, so after the 70s, companies started using risk as the measurement to whether or not they keep somebody, etc. So some of the things that you see is middle management becomes pretty awful and pretty toxic, because those middle managers might have financial management processes that make them more successful than others in the way they report, in the way they sustain things like that, but they may be awful bosses. They may run team off constantly. And as you know, in most businesses, the employees and recruiting, training, and retaining employees is the most expensive piece of any business. So you'll see that sometimes these middle managers can stay in that world, even though they're awful people, because they have these skills that mitigate risk elsewhere. So the company will take on the risk of keeping that person and running good people off over and over again, and allowing that poor character to stay, because they think that the risk is properly managed, because they think the ends justify the means, which is always incorrect. So I'll come back to the point of the video, which is the company you keep. So the thumbnail of this is going to be another gentleman that I respect greatly, Colin Powell. And he says, a mirror reflects a man's face, but what he's really like is shown by the kinds of friends he chooses. And so I want to say that because position does not matter. So I had some conversations earlier this week, and it doesn't matter if they're attorneys, physicians, millionaires, business owners, CEOs, CFOs, or other executives across the business world. Title does not matter. There are bad people in every role. There are people that are not deserving to be bosses in leadership roles where they do not belong. And so when you go into those situations and you discover that those people are what they are, you should have a better expectation for yourself and try to remove yourself from the situation as quickly as possible. Now, I know there are financial limitations to everything, right? But being around people with poor company, that are poor company, that have no proper values, that have no proper morals, that don't honor their word, that don't do what they say they'll do, that don't do those things that are simple understanding. And as my grandmother taught, the golden rule, do unto others as you have them do unto you, straight out of the Bible and straight out of tons of fables and things taught for centuries and millennia at this point. It comes back to protect you from the same thing. It's to have you be a person that's like that, with the expectation that as you do those things and you live that way, you will attract other people to you. So here's the reason I make this video. The other piece of humanity you have to pay attention to, and this is why I see businesses fail constantly, and I see this constantly as a consultant, where businesses, and I don't mean just like your mom and pop shops, I mean big major organizations that employ thousands of people, they will have these sharks within their ranks and not know. And these people just prey upon the other people that are within their ranks. You have to be aware of that. So know and pay attention to the company you keep. Also, if you have a great work ethic, you need to watch out who you hang out with at work. Some of the young cats who used to work for me at some of the plants, they had friends that also worked at the plant, that they met at the plant. They kind of knew previous in life because they went to the same schools, they were from the same area. But at some point their paths diverged, and one group of people got into crime and got into doing things that were of ill repute. And these folks, just because of familiarity, started hanging out with these people and spending time with these people once they got into a similar employment situation. The problem with that is if these people have this reputation, whether you have it or not, you get painted with that same reputation. Okay? So if you look at the modern decade, or the last 2 decades rather, there's been a lot of talk about race, etc. And some things have been highlighted about we're all the same as someone else based on the color of our skin or where we're from or some zip code, etc. As ridiculous as that is, people believe it, okay? And so that same swapping brush that I'm talking about that paints you like the ones that are around you, if you use that as your mentality, then you will fall into those groups and the limitations of those groups as well. So remember the importance of the individual. Remember the importance of you and what you're trying to do. Okay, you're trying to live your best life, find the best role, do the things that will make you feel fulfilled and appreciated, right? That will allow you to have the living that you want, will allow you to take care of your family the way you want to, or to be taken care of the way you want to. You have to be specific in those things, okay? And if you are religious, no matter what religion you practice, there's a moral code that comes with all of that. And that moral code should be guiding you to make decisions in a certain way and represent yourself in a certain way. And so the company you keep matters more now than it ever has before because it doesn't lose importance. And so let's talk about position like I said before. The higher someone moves up, the greater risk they are to those that are around them that are not of the same character. So let me say this. What you see and you don't correct. What you accept, you approve. So if you own a company, if you own a business, if you are a leader, and you see poor decisions, if you see risky actions, if you see those things and you don't correct them, then you are due the pain that is coming from that. Okay, so I spoke to a former business associate today whose business is in extremely dire straits now through a bunch of multiple false allegations and lawsuits because they wanted to terminate someone who deemed themselves not terminable. And the issue with that is they're going to have a hard time doing it because they didn't do anything that was documented to correct behavior in the past. So every opportunity you have to correct behavior, if you're a leader around write-up, protocol, coachings, any of those things, one-on-ones, and you don't do it and you don't document it, if there's extremely bad behavior and you don't call the police so they can take a police report and remove the person, you have just stapled yourself to a plan that will never go right, and ultimately it will disintegrate into something that is out of control. And it could risk you, it could risk your family, it could risk your livelihood, and could risk the livelihood of a business that it may have taken you decades to build. So just remember, at the end of the day, you should be of upstanding character. You should do all you can in this world to make your life better and the lives of those around you better. And the people that are around you should have the same goals that you do. So remember, there's nothing more important than the company you keep. If you like information like this and videos such as these, please like and subscribe, and we'll have more content coming soon. Be good.